Hey, yo, what's up, guys? Zaid here, bringing you yet another episode of Zaid's Experience. Today, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite things to eat, and that is eggs. What the differences are, how they are raised, and which one ultimately gives you the best bang for your buck. So stick around and let's check this out, guys. Factory farming is what I consider to be one of modern day's horrors. If you've ever visited a farm or ever visited one of these major factories or know of any, you know that there's huge farms, have really good tight security, and there's a reason for it. A lot of these places have really inhumane conditions in which the animals are raised in. It can get pretty sad once you start seeing the conditions in which these animals live in. This is one of the reasons why I started to dig in a little bit more into what was the difference between the different types of eggs that I was consuming. Was there a significant difference from conventional eggs to maybe organic eggs? Cage-free, what's the difference between cage-free and organic? There's pasture-raised, is it any better than organic? There are so many options now at the supermarket that it can get pretty confusing really quickly. And as some might think that the difference in prices might make it a little bit more clear as to which one is better than the other, it really doesn't make that much of a difference in many cases. Knowledge is power, so I went ahead and did a little bit of research for you guys. So today I'm going to be breaking down the 5 different types of eggs that you can get at your local supermarket, what the differences are, and ultimately which one gives you the best bang for your buck. And I'm going to try to nail this topic as best as possible. So let's start off with prices. The conventional egg can go ahead and start off from 99 cents for a dozen, which can kind of give you a clue as to how much quality you're actually getting out of that product. Now this is where it starts to get a little bit tricky. Cage-free and free-range eggs usually are amongst the same price as well. They start to go up until like the $2.99 for a dozen. Now you can usually find organic free-range eggs as well in the $4.99 range to $5.99 range, and even higher in many cases. The other eggs that you will also find around this range will be the pasture-raised eggs. You'll find them again from that $4.99 up to even $6.99. I live in California, guys, so the prices might vary for you, but that's what we have to deal with here. So what makes the prices go up on these? What's the difference between the conventional egg and, say, the organic egg? So these have to do with the living conditions, what they're fed, and if they're pumped with hormones or not, whether they're certified organic or not. All these tiny little labels that they put on the eggs that make the prices go up or make the prices go down. Zaid, yes, I've seen all these, but what are the differences amongst all of these? So let me explain. Obviously, we're doing this for chickens as we are talking about eggs, but we can also apply this in many situations to cows and pigs or farm animals. So the first type of egg that you can get is the less nutrient dense, the typical supermarket egg or the conventional egg. These are what I consider to be one of modern day's horrors. It is really saddening to see the conditions in which these chickens live in. They have very little to no space. They never ever go outside in a cage inside a barn their entire lives. They get fed really cheap feed or chicken food or whatever it is that they're giving them. It really isn't that regulated. They get pumped with hormones to produce a higher yield of eggs, and they are, not surprisingly, the less nutrient dense of them all. The yolk is very pale, is the typical yellow pale egg yolk that you've probably grown up with and found as common, but not really. It shouldn't be that way. Now the second type of egg is cage-free. So same as a conventional egg, it still lives in a barn, but it is not in a small cage anymore. It is actually freed up. It is still in the barn, it's still inside, indoors, but it is no longer in a cage. Again, the living space is really small. There's not a lot of room. It can be really crowded inside that barn amongst all the chickens. The feed is very bad, or it's just not regulated. These are also pumped with antibiotics in many cases, not all the cases. And the yolk, again, is not that great. Is it a little better than the conventional egg? Might be. At the end of the day, the only thing that they really change is that the chicken is not in a cage. Everything else kind of stays the same. Then third comes the free-range eggs. Now the free-range eggs are a little bit different in the fact that they can actually go outside of the barn. So these chickens actually get to see the daylight. They don't spend all their lives outside, but they do come back into the barn, but they get to go outside. So that is a little bit of a plus for the chickens themselves. And again, the feed is not regulated, so really cheap feed can be used as food for these chickens. Again, common practices are pumping these with hormones. And here's where we kind of start seeing the quality of the egg change a little bit, the quality of the yolk itself. That's where you'll really start to see the change. It'll go from a light yellow to a darker yellow, but still not something really dark. But there is definitely a difference from the conventional egg to this one. Number 4 is the certified organic eggs. This is where we start seeing a little bit more of the heavier changes on the actual egg yolk itself. Contrary to popular belief, these chickens don't always have to go outside. Certified organic mostly concerns to the food that the chickens are eating, and the chickens actually not getting pumped with any antibiotics. So as far as food goes, on certified organic, they get a vegetarian type of feed or a leaner, much organic type of feed. These are like things that get commonly practiced. And as far as hormones, these chickens don't get pumped with any hormones, which is a plus to whoever is consuming the product of the chicken. As far as living spaces, these can actually vary. Some of these chickens, even though they're certified organic, may never get to see daylight. Living conditions vary from barn to barn. Sometimes they're in very tight spaces, sometimes they have a little bit more, and these tend to be a little bit cleaner than most. But still, these are not highly regulated. And here's where we really start to see the difference just by adding better feed and by actually not pumping the chicken with any extra hormones. We can actually start to see that the yolk starts to get much, much darker. Now, number 5 is the pasture-raised eggs. This is where we start to see the full benefits of the eggs, where we start to see a lot more vitamins and a lot more minerals come out of those eggs, so you're getting a better bang for your buck. So on these type of eggs, the chicken actually has access to the outside, and they also have access to a barn as well. So they have the safety of the barn, and they get to go outside. As far as what the chickens eat, the people that usually raise these chickens are way more conscious of what the chicken actually eats, so they use high quality feed, or they just let the chicken roam around and graze the land and eat whatever it wants, such as worms, insects, whatever chickens eat out there. I mean, I've seen chickens eat mice, which is, they can really be savages. And hormonally speaking, although there is a little bit of a gray line, sometimes they do pump them with some hormones, but it is not a common practice. It is a much more rare thing for these people to go ahead and use hormones on these chickens. And finally, these are the most nutrient-dense eggs that you can get. Pasture-raised is what I would go with, and here are the reasons why. So I'm going to be making the comparison between the conventional eggs and the pasture-raised eggs. That way you guys get a better idea how big of a difference it is between the conventional ones and these pasture-raised eggs. Pasture-raised chickens have been found to have twice as much vitamin A, 2 to 3 times more vitamin E, and up to 3 times more omega-3 fatty acids. But it doesn't stop there. These also have been found to have 3 to 4 times more vitamin D than conventional eggs. And in many cases, pasture-raised eggs have been found to have 7 times more beta-carotene than conventional eggs. Beta-carotene is what gives the yolk its really dark yellowish color. So that's why when you have a more nutrient-dense egg, usually you get that really rich color, that really dark yolk. So don't be afraid of that. If you see an egg that has that, it's like, oh, it's not as yellow as the other eggs. It's actually a good thing that the yolk is actually darker. Also, for all the people out there that are still riding the cholesterol and fat wagon, where they think that cholesterol is bad for you or fats are bad for you, these are actually lower in some fats, which is why a lot of doctors still recommend it these days and say that pasture-raised eggs are good for you because they have less fat and less cholesterol. You guys can go ahead and decide that on your own, but as I've been finding out, cholesterol and fats are a great thing, so take that as you may. So vitamin A helps out with a lot of things around the body. It's very important. Some of the most common things that vitamin A is associated with is helping out with vision. It supports a healthy immune system. It can reduce the risk of some cancers. It contributes to your bone health. And if you're anything like me, you might have a little bit of acne every now and then. Well, this definitely contributes to this and really helps you out with it, and promotes healthy growth in both kids and adults. So these are only some of the benefits of vitamin vitamin A and why it's so important to have it. Now, when people talk about vitamin E, it really refers to a lot of skin related things. It prevents dry and itchy skin. It helps in the prevention of skin cancer. It also helps with wound healing. It makes it go much faster. If you're a person that has eczema or psoriasis, I really recommend you use vitamin E or supplement of it, or just eat pasture-raised eggs, and you can get a really decent amount of vitamin E. If you already have any of these, it really helps you out with prevent a lot of these things. Not all the time, but it does help prevent in some cases or minimize it. It promotes nail health. If you're somebody that's out in the sun quite a bit, it actually helps minimize sunburn. So, hey, I didn't know that one actually. I kind of just looked it up not that long ago. You learn something every day. Amongst other things. Now, omegas. I can literally do several videos just on omega-3s, which is one of the ones that eggs actually have. So I won't go too much into detail about that, but just know that omega-3s are super important for many things in the body. They are great for you, and they are an essential fatty acid, which means that your body does not create it, so you must get it from an outside source. That's why they are essential. You need these in your diet. And a great way to get them is from an animal source, because it becomes way more bioavailable than many others. I think that eggs are the best source of omega-3s and fish that you can find out in the wild. But I will mention some of the benefits that omega-3s do have, and that is it can actually help with eyesight. It can help fight off depression and anxiety. It promotes optimal brain health. If you're a mom that's nursing, if your kid's growing up, it's actually great for a lot of things. Again, anything that kind of involves growth, omega-3s is there. They have to be there. They are essential, guys. It can help out with heart disease. It can help out with ADHD in young children. It helps out with a lot of stomach problems in many cases. Mental disorders, immune disease, inflammation, which is one of the big reasons why I make sure I consume a good amount of it, or a more balanced amount of it, as well as many other things that it helps out with. So trust me, guys, get your omega-3s in, but make sure they are balanced with omega-6s and omega-9s, or all your other omegas. Again, the body likes everything in perfect harmony. You can't have something higher than the other, because then it causes a show, and let's not get into that. And as we all know, vitamin D is great in many ways. It can actually help boost your metabolism, which helps you lose fat, reduces depression, and can help you fight off disease. So there's a lot of benefits into all of these really basic vitamins that we sometimes overlook. Some other things that are very high on vitamin D are salmon, sardines, again, the egg yolks, milk, and various other different things. But I really recommend you either eat some kind of a fish for vitamin D, eggs, pasture-raised. That's what I suggest. But in some places, I know that doesn't always happen. Let's say you're in Iceland and there's not a lot of sun throughout the year. This is a great way to consume vitamin D and getting those adequate amounts of vitamin D into your system. So vitamin A, guys, vitamin E, omega-3s in a balanced ratio, and vitamin D, all found in eggs and in greater amounts in either organic or pasture-raised eggs. Well, hopefully this clarifies some of the mystery as to what you guys are getting when you buy conventional eggs, cage-free, free-range eggs, organic, or pasture-raised eggs. Again, in my opinion, pasture-raised eggs are the best option. Second best option would be organic, but again, there are a couple of caveats that go along with that. And if you ask me, you could just spend the extra buck and get a completely better egg that is way more nutrient dense, and at the same time you can kind of guarantee that chicken had a way better life. And in my brain, it gives me some peace of mind. So I don't know, that's just me. But again, that's a very personal decision. Again, this is a very sensitive topic to me. Take it as you may. But once again, guys, thanks for joining me in another episode of Say's Experience. Please go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Push that notification bell, that way you guys get notified every time I come up with a new video such as this. If you have any helpful resources, please leave them down there. Again, these go ahead and get read by your community more often than you think. And not only will you be helping out other people that are looking at the comments, but you will also be supporting local farms, local grocery stores that are doing the right thing and actually putting these pasture-raised eggs or organic eggs out in their markets. I know these aren't an option for everybody, but it definitely helps when you have more resources, more options. Anything is really better than conventional eggs. This is really to look out for yourselves, guys, and maybe keep the animal that's providing you with this food in mind. I think a little bit of love amongst all living things actually goes a long way, so I leave that one up to you guys. But once again, guys, thanks for joining me on another episode. Zay out. Peace.